Hello, I'm Chris McClure, and this is module number 1 for EDL 853, Inclusive School Culture. First, some personal information. I grew up in Lyons, Kansas, and then I briefly attended Garden City Community College before finishing my undergraduate degree at Ottawa University in accounting. I received my teacher certification from Sterling College about 5 years after working in the workforce. And then since I started teaching, I've received my master's in curriculum and instruction from Wichita State University. This is my 24th year teaching at Smoky Valley High School in Lindsborg. It is my 27th year overall after teaching at both Hayes High and a small school called Hamilton in southwestern Kansas, or south central Kansas. I am a business teacher. I am also the CTE coordinator and part-time college and career advocate. I'm coaching currently. I'm the defensive coordinator, as well as working with the defensive line and tight ends. And then in the spring, I am the head softball coach. And then for about 15 years now, I've been the Fellowship of Christian Athletes huddle leader. My family, there's a picture of them there. My wife works at a dental office. My son is in his 4th year teaching at Baldwin Middle School in Baldwin City after graduating from KU. And our daughter, Hallie, teaches at Clay Center after receiving her education degree at Bethany College here in Lindsborg. She is in her 2nd year at Clay Center. And then we currently have 2 dogs. The closest one is Bear. He's about 140 pounds of Great Pyrenees. And then staring at the camera is Hopper. He's younger, but he's about 90 pounds of Pyrenees/Anatolian Shepherd mix. So that's my family, and now on to the article summaries. The first article by the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development discusses 7 ways to create an inclusive environment in the classroom. They are academic support, which is ensuring that all students have the opportunity to thrive, providing teachers with adequate training to support students, addressing problems like privilege, oppression, and inequality, increased academic achievement and respect for others, to take diversity and intercultural understanding into account with adjusting ranking calculations, hiring a diverse staff, and allowing students to openly discuss their thoughts and feelings. The second article, authored by Childhood Education International, entitled Inclusive Leadership in Education, cites the following leadership traits. Visible commitment, where leaders articulate a general commitment to diversity, challenge the status quo, hold others accountable, and make diversity and inclusion a personal priority. Humility, where leaders are modest about capabilities, they admit mistakes and create the space for others to contribute. Awareness of bias, leaders show an awareness of personal blind spots and flaws in the system and work hard to ensure meritocracy. Curiosity about others, leaders demonstrate an open mindset and deep curiosity about others, listen without judgment, and seek empathy to understand those around them. Cultural intelligence, where leaders are attentive to others' cultures and adapt as required. And effective collaboration, where leaders empower others, pay attention to the diversity of thinking and psychological safety, and focus on team cohesion. Article number 3 by Nicole Eridix lists 10 reasons for inclusive schools. They are: all children have access to education, all children learn alongside their same age peers, the focus of education is on the child's abilities, not disabilities, children become accepting and understanding of one another's abilities, talents, personalities, and needs, meaningful relationships and friendships develop as students spend quality time with one another, students develop confidence in their ability to interact with one another and the world around them. Teachers in inclusive schools are highly trained and skilled at delivering appropriate student-centered curriculum through differentiated instructions according to ability level. In addition to the classroom teacher, students with disabilities are supported by special education teachers, paraprofessionals, and specialists such as speech language therapists. Various resources and assistive technologies are available to students in inclusive schools in an effort to reach and teach all learners. Inclusive schools value input and participation from the whole community, not just the students. The fourth article, What is Inclusive Education and How Can You Implement It?, defines inclusive education as a teaching model where all students, regardless of their ability, learn together in one environment. It continues by explaining three types of inclusive education. Full inclusion, which is centered around the theory that all students belong within the main classroom. Partial inclusion, which is built around allowing all students to learn and interact with the main classroom while including separated learning for students that need additional support. And mainstreaming, which is beginning disabled students in a self-contained classroom, then integrating them into the main classroom based on their readiness. Next we have what are the roles of principals in successful inclusive schools. In this article, there are 10 actions a principal can undertake to create or improve an inclusive school environment. They are listed there. I am not going to read each of them. In The Inclusive School by Meg McIntyre, she writes about going beyond mainstreaming in the classroom to ensure all students are reaching their full potential, about diversity and equity as part of the inclusive education, about expanding inclusion outside the classroom into extracurriculars, and about challenges for leveling the playing field by moving away from tracking or sorting students. Developing an inclusive classroom culture outlines 4 strategies for developing an inclusive classroom. First, value what each student brings by understanding identity, culture, and language, and by knowing your learners and their cultures. Next, establish a respectful class climate by learning about diversity and equity and by having high expectations. Third, plan for everyone to participate and achieve by creating flexible learning environments and seeking student feedback. And finally, taking a community approach by building relationships with your communities. The NASSP video asserted some best practices, including understanding and supporting deficits to eliminate excuses, raising every student beyond their own expectations, customizing your school program for each student, and collaborating to find solutions using culture to support achievement. The next article lists some basic elements of inclusive education. Those are using teaching assistants or specialists who help teachers address the needs of all students, inclusive curriculum that includes locally relevant themes and contributions of marginalized and minority groups, and parental involvement not limited to emails and parent-teacher conferences. According to the School Superintendent Association, inclusion is built on the premise that all students should be valued for their unique abilities and included as essential members of a school community. That inclusion is the valuing of diversity within the human community, and that inclusive schools are places where students, regardless of ability, race, language, and income, are integral members of classrooms. They feel a connection to their peers and have access to rigorous and meaningful general education curricula and receive collaborative support to succeed. In the last article, Team XQ provided some benefits to creating an inclusive school. These benefits include students gaining social and community skills that they may not have exposure to in special education classrooms. Inclusive schools experience fewer absences and behavior issues. Inclusive schools lead to greater overall acceptance and tolerance as students age. And all students and teachers benefit from a great support system. Next, I have my responses to the questions posed in the instructions. I think the inclusive school definition needs to permeate throughout every aspect of the school, from the facilities to the classroom, from every student and stakeholder. The inclusive culture, I think the school leader's role in an inclusive culture is to maintain or develop, if it doesn't exist, an atmosphere where each student feels that they are respected and valued for their differences and feels free to express their opinions. Dealing with advocacy, I think advocacy cannot be just a slogan or something talked about at a faculty meeting. It needs to be present in everything that is important to the school. I think a school leader can make the largest impact by removing barriers to inclusion. Additionally, schools need to make inclusivity a shared responsibility, ensure collaboration, make behavior management a school-wide initiative, and make certain to communicate with all families. Some steps that leaders can take are providing teachers with adequate training, adjusting the curriculum if necessary, focusing on student abilities, and hiring a diverse staff. Those are just 4 steps among the many that were listed throughout this presentation and in the readings throughout the chapter. And then my concluding thoughts, here are my standard correlation, my relevancy, my reflection, as well as my references, which my face was blocking. Thank you for your attention.